princess who was not at all unpleasant to look at, and had a temperament that many found to be more pleasant than others. Her nickname was Snow White. Indicative of the discriminatory notions of associating pleasant or attractive qualities with light and unpleasant or unattractive qualities with darkness. Thus, at an early age, Snow White was an unwitting, if fortunate, target for this type of coloristic thinking. When Snow White was quite young, her mother was suddenly stricken ill, grew more advanced in non-health, and finally was rendered non-viable. Her father, the king, grieved for what could be considered a healthy period of time, then asked another woman to be his queen. Snow White did her best to please her new mother of step, but a cold distance remained between them. The queen's prized possession was a magic mirror that would answer truthfully any question asked it. Now years of social conditioning and a male hierarchical dictatorship had left the queen very insecure about her own self-worth. Physical beauty was the one standard she cared about now, and she defined herself solely in regard to her personal appearance. So every morning the queen would ask her mirror,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all?"
For which the mirror would reply, "For all its worth, O my queen, your beauty is the fairest to be seen." That dialogue went on regularly until once, when the queen was having a bad hair day and was desperately in need of support, she asked the usual question,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all?"
And to which the mirror replied, "Alas, if worth were based on beauty, Snow White has surpassed you, cutie." At this, the queen flew into rage. The chance to work with Snow White to form a strong bond of sisterhood had long passed. Instead, the queen indulged in an adopted masculine power trip and summoned the royal woodsman.
"I order you to take her into the woods and kill her, but bring me back her heart. Years of dieting have made me hungry."
The woods person sadly agreed to these orders and led the girl into the middle of the forest. "Snow White, I'm so sorry, but your wicked bitch of a mother of step has ordered me to kill you. But alas, I can't." "Run, Snow White, run deep into the forest." The frightened Snow White did as she was told. The woods person, fearing the queen's wrath, but unwilling to take another life merely to indulge her vanity, had concocted a heart made of marzipan. And the woods person returned to present the heart to the queen, and she hungrily devoured the heart in a sickening display of pseudo-cannibalism. Meanwhile, Snow White ran deep into the woods just when she thought she had fled as far as she could from civilization and its unhealthy influences. She stumbled upon a cottage. Inside, she saw 7 tiny beds, set in a row and unmade. She also saw 7 sets of dishes piled high in a sink and 7 bark loungers in front of 7 remote-controlled TVs. She surmised that the cottage belonged to either 7 little men or 1 sloppy numerologist. The beds looked so inviting that the tired youngster curled up on one of them and immediately fell asleep. When she woke several hours later, she saw that the faces of 7 bearded, vertically challenged men surrounding the bed. She sat up with a start and gasped.
"You see that? Just like a flightly woman, resting peacefully one minute, up and screaming the next."
"I agree. She disturbed our strong bond of brotherhood and created competition among us for our affections. I say we throw her in the river in a sack full of rocks."
"Yeah, I agree. We should get rid of her. But why degrade the ecology? Let's just feed her to a bear or something and let her become part of the food chain."
Hear, hear.
Sound thinking, brother.
"Oh my, please, please don't kill me. I meant no harm by sleeping on your bed. I thought no one would ever notice."
"Ah, you see? Simple preoccupations are already surfacing. She's complaining that we don't make our beds."
Kill her! Kill her!
"Please, no. I have traveled so deep into the woods because of my mother of step, the queen, ordered me kill." "See that? Introducing female vindictiveness."
Don't try and play the victim with us, kid.
"Quiet! Explain yourself. What's your name And why have you really come here?
My name is Snow White, and I've already told you my mother Step, the queen, ordered a woods person to take me in the forest and kill me, but he took pity of me and told me to run away into the woods as far as I could.
Just like a woman, get a man to do her dirty work.
Well, Snow White, if that's your story, I guess we'll have to believe you.
And who are you guys anyway?
We are known as the 7 Towering Giants. We are towering in spirit, and so we are giant among men of the forest. We earn our living by digging in our mines, but we decided that such a rape of the planet was immoral and short-sighted. Besides, the bottom fell out of the metals market. So now we are dedicated stewards of the earth and live here in harmony with nature. To make ends meet, we also conduct retreats for men who need to get in touch with their primitive masculine identities.
So what does that involve? Aside from drinking milk straight out of the carton.
Your sarcasm is ill-advised. My fellow giants want to get rid of your corrupting feminine presence, and I might not be able to stop them, understand? My men, we must speak our hearts openly and honestly. Let us adjourn to the sweat lodge.
The 7 little men scampered out the front door, whooping and stripping off their clothes. Snow White didn't know what to do while waiting for fear of stepping on anything that might be scurrying about amid the debris on the floor. She stayed on the bed, although she did manage to make it without ever stepping off. Snow White heard drumming and shouts, and soon after, the 7 towering giants came back into the cottage. They didn't smell as bad as she thought they would. Ah, look what she's done to my bed. I want her out of here. I want to change my vote.
Calm down, brother. Don't you see? This is just what we were talking about. Contrast. We can better measure our progress as true men if there is a female around for comparison.
I resent being kept around from like an object, just as a yardstick for your egos and penises.
Fair enough. You're free to make your way back through the woods. Give our regards to the queen.
Well, I guess I can stay until I figure out a new plan.
Very well, but we have a few ground rules. No dusting, no straightening up, and no rinsing out underwear in the sink.
And no peeking in the sweat lodge.
And stay away from our drums.
Meanwhile, back at the castle, the queen rejoiced at the thought that her rival in beauty had been eliminated. She puttered around her room reading Glamour and Elle and indulged herself in 3 pieces of chocolate without purging. Later, she confidently strolled up to her magic mirror and asked her same question.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all?
The mirror replied, "Your weight is perfect for your shape and height, but for sheer oomph, you can't beat Snow White." At this news, the queen clenched her fists and screamed at the top of her lungs. For years, her insecurities had been eating away at her until now. They turned her into someone who was morally out of the mainstream. With cunning and malice, she began to devise a plan to ensure the non-vitality of her daughter of Step.